My name is Joe Mendelson. I'm Director of Policy for National Wildlife Federation's Climate and Energy Program. NWF is the nation's largest conservation, education, and advocacy organization with more than 4 million members across the country. We have affiliate organizations in 48 states and territories, and our mission is to inspire Americans to protect wildlife for our children's future. And as you will hear from the inspired NWF speakers representing 12 states that follow my testimony, support for EPA's proposed carbon pollution standards for new electric power plants as a means to protect our public health and wildlife for future generations is widespread and found throughout the country. There's never been a more urgent time to stop carbon pollution, as it is fueling climate change and ocean acidification. Each year, our nation's power plants pump nearly 2.3 billion tons of carbon pollution into the atmosphere. Global carbon pollution is increasing in record amounts, jumping by 6% over the last year. If this pollution path is not altered, global temperatures will increase by at least 7 degrees Fahrenheit, potentially 11 degrees Fahrenheit by 2100. This current path also leaves wildlife and local communities on the front lines experiencing the increasingly virulent impacts of climate change on a daily basis. At 4 degrees C, that's the 7+ Fahrenheit temperature increase, scientists predict massive extinctions across the globe. In this last year, the U.S. has seen wildfires harm the monarch butterfly migration and push the Houston toad to the brink of extinction. Record drought has threatened endangered whooping cranes, and extreme floods have blown out fish populations in numerous rivers and streams. Our 2011 report, Game Changers, Air Pollution, a Warming Climate, and the Troubled Future for America's Hunting and Fishing Heritage, details how toxic air pollution and carbon pollution from power plants represents a double whammy, exacerbating the disappearance of our nation's beloved fish and game species. And our recent report, On Thin Ice, Warming Winters, puts America's hunting and fishing heritage at risk, provides real-world experiences, some of which you will soon hear, with how the decades-long trend in shorter, warmer, and less snowy winters is having major impacts on all forms of outdoor recreation. At the same time, communities across the country face a record number of climate change-fueled extreme weather events that are taking toll on our families and our personal property. In 2011, the U.S. experienced over $35 billion worth of extreme weather losses. That's insured weather losses, not the uninsured losses, which we know probably hurt even more. This property damage has left families homeless, destroyed critical infrastructure, and placed an immediate human cost on accelerating climate change. Without a national policy that begins to tackle carbon pollution, these problems will accelerate in speed and force and may become unstoppable. It is for these very reasons that NWF's affiliates passed a resolution in 2009 resolving that all new coal-fired power plants being built should be required to control their carbon pollution. Happily, EPA's proposed rule just does that. It sets a standard, regardless of fuel type, that says we can no longer indiscriminately pump carbon pollution into our skies, and ensures that as we modernize our power sector, we do not saddle the future generations with more high carbon polluting infrastructure that lasts for a decade to come. Importantly, EPA cannot stop there. Since 1999, I've engaged in personal efforts to utilize the Clean Air Act to limit carbon pollution. One legal petition, numerous court rulings, including 2 Supreme Court rulings now, and 3 presidents later, we are only now tackling the first piece of the nation's largest sector of carbon pollution. It has been 12 years since my own efforts began. I have literally watched my 2 daughters grow up, and close to 40 billion tons of uncontrolled power plant carbon pollution be emitted during this time. We cannot delay additional efforts any longer, and standards to control the carbon pollution from existing power plants must follow in short order. There is not only a legal obligation to do so, but there's a moral duty to act. We cannot leave future generations wondering why we waited to take the next step.